Hello there. Today I'm going to talk about financial forecasting with synodic cycles. This is a specific kind of question that can arise. There are many features in Sirius that are geared towards specific information that you want, whether it might be a medieval or a Vedic or a harmonic or cosmobiology or some form of research. Just lots of features that are for a small number of people who run into a particular question or some kind of information that's wanted, and this is an example of it. The idea comes up sometimes that there's some cycle of two planets that correlates with something like rain or stock prices or the Dow Jones Industrial Average or something like that. An example is that I'll read what I've written here in the PowerPoint slide here. Sometimes someone suggests that some cycles, such as the Mars-Uranus cycle or the lunar cycle, when we talk about the lunar cycle, we mean from one new moon to the next new moon, that one of these cycles is going to correlate with some behavior, so that more babies are born around full moon, or it rains more just after full moon, or the price of, someone mentioned to me they think the price of silver goes up around full moon. So is this true or not? Can we find out? So there are very, very nice tools for seeing this, for visualizing it very, very nicely. And the visualizing is extremely important. Researchers nowadays like to visualize data. Don't just jump in to do some statistical significance test. You want to look at the data, see what's going on, and get a feeling for it. So I'm going to show you in the Sirius software, running version 1.3, how you do this. Now, the term for planets, the planetary cycle from when the two planets are conjunct to when they become conjunct again is called a synodic cycle. So, the sun and moon are conjunct, which we call new moon, about, every 29 days or so. Jupiter and Saturn are conjunct about every 20 years. So every two planets have some time period that it takes them to go from being conjunct to being conjunct again. So the formal way of stating this is you want to correlate a synodic cycle with some behavior. Now this behavior, if you're going to test it to see, if it really correlates with a synodic cycle, you have to have it measured, of course. If you can do it precisely, you got to measure whatever it is you're interested in. So examples of measurements: stock or commodity price. So if you have the price of a stock, or a commodity price, or a financial index, that would be an example. Another example would be rainfall. So this can be used not only for financial research, but any kind of research where you've got some measurement, rainfall, temperature. You can imagine all kinds of things that you could relate it to. And you don't have to have the data every day. It's not needed every day, but you do need a lot of data. I mentioned here, preferably a few hundred days or more. And you'll see why, because you're going to see how it's distributed as these two planets separate and go around the zodiac. So you need to have enough data spread around the 360 degrees to see if there's a pattern. So preferably at least a few hundred data points. And the way Sirius works is it's daily data. So we don't have it set up. I don't think so. Not this particular thing I'm going to show you for hourly data. The AstroSignature Forecast can be used for that. But I'm going to show you today a feature that's specifically for getting a quick visualization of synodic cycles. It's different from the AstroSignature Forecast because this allows you to look specifically at one synodic cycle and relate it to some measurement. And we'll look at silver prices, the price of silver. So let me show you how you do it. It's very simple and it's a lot of fun. Well, you go into the research. I've got somebody's chart up here. We're not really interested in that today. So we go into the research, which is this purple icon. And we have all these research features. And it's right here, advanced, under the advanced research section, quantitative transit and natal synodic cycles. So there's several things you can do in here. You click on that, you get a pop-up menu with two items: the line graph of scores by transit or transit to natal angular distance, or line graph of scores by natal angular distance. This second one is for studying a group of birth charts. We're interested in a graph of scores for transits. So we'll click on this first one, and we get this window. Now, you pick the two planets. It's got here Sun, Jupiter. Well, I want Sun and Moon. I'm going to see if silver prices, the price of silver, changes with the lunar cycle. We can find this out. You don't have to sit and guess and wonder. It's not difficult to do. It's fun. You have to have the data. And I've got a file in here called Silvcash. Happens to have silver prices. I don't know if we include this file with Sirius or not. I have to check, or whether I imported it. You can import this data. A lot of people import from finance.yahoo.com. I have another video that explains specifically how to import financial data. You can import it, give it a name, and there it is. And then, if we go back to the part of Sirius where we see the range of data, well, let's go ahead and do that. Let me quit this. I'm going to backtrack here, and I'm just going to show you. If I go to Forecast, Financial Analysis Toolbox, I can find that data. There it is, silvcash.fdk. So the silvcash.fdk is just an extension we use in Sirius and the Kepler software for financial data. It means financial data. For K means Kepler or Sirius. And it shows me that I've got data from December 6, 1967 through 2005. So that data was imported, and there it is. Whoa, silver really peaked up here in around February 1980. Wow. And then, anyway, so there's the graph of the data. So I've got data from late 67 to early 2005. Okay, now I'll cancel out of that. And let's go back to our research. Quantitative transit and natal synodic cycles. Select the first pop-up menu item. Select Moon. And I'm back here, and I know that I've got data from late 1967. So I'll start 1968. January 1st, 1968. Just so it's a nice, beginning of the year, nice round number, so to speak. And let's run it for a considerable amount of time. Let's run it for, say, 5 years. I know I've got data up to 2000, late 2005, I think it was. I've got, way more than 5 years, so I can do 5 years. And then I select which data I want to correlate with. So this is very simple. What we're doing is we're saying, show me the sun-moon cycle, the synodic cycle, transit to transit. I'm not relating it to a natal chart. This is sun and moon in the sky. I could also look at transiting sun to natal moon if I want to. I can do this geo or helio. I'm going to do it geo. Well, the moon is always geo. So you select what planets you want, whether it's transit to transit, which means in the sky, whether it's geo or helio, and this mundane or personal data means like a stock price. That would be like IBM, General Motors, some company or entity or person. Mundane data means it's data that's not related to some specific entity, and silver prices are just the price of silver. Anyway, there's different kinds of data, and we usually do scores. You can also do this against percent change. It's a little more technical. Technical to discuss it. That's not that technical. It just means you're comparing against how much prices changed rather than the actual prices. We'll do the actual prices or actual scores. Remember, this could be amount of rainfall. It's not necessarily financial data. All right, so we start January 1st, 1968, because we know we have data then. We run it for 5 years. This is the time of day that the calculations are done. You can do the middle of the day, since financial stuff is done between about 9 or 10 in the morning and 5 in the afternoon. you might want to do it for 2 or 3 in the afternoon. GMT would be 5 hours later. This isn't that important. It really doesn't matter. I'll just change it, to about the middle of the day. But it's not really going to make much difference. And then you display the graph, and there it is. So this is showing. On the left, we have the price of silver. And this shows what the price of silver is when the sun-moon angle is 0, when they're conjunct, all the way out to 360 degrees. So when sun-moon are opposition, which would be around here, 180, so along the bottom is the angle, and here's the price. So it's the sun-moon angle, that would be the synodic cycle from new moon to new moon, and the price. So right here, looks like around 160 degrees, prices were low. But this can be just random fluctuation. Now, what's often done in this kind of research is rather than seeing it for each degree, we could smooth it out, because it looks like this might be, smoothed out, like maybe it's getting a little higher here, maybe a little lower there, I don't know. But I could smooth it out by changing the number of degrees per point to, say, 5 degrees, and redisplay. See, that's accumulated over 5-degree totals. It's a kind of a smoothing function. I could do it over 10 degrees. Now, over 10-degree totals, it looks like a little bit after new moon, from 20 degrees to 90 degrees, silver prices are high. So once the moon gets past 20 degrees past the sun and up to the first quarter, 90 degrees, looks like prices are high, and then it drops down, and then is fairly stable after full moon, say 190 degrees, 10 degrees after full moon, stays kind of stable. That seems to be the pattern. Is it a consistent pattern? Have we found something? Well, the real easy thing to do is look at the next 5 years. So we just change this to 1973, that'd be 5 years later, and display again, and see if we see the same kind of pattern. Peaking between 20 and 90, going down, and then after 190 seems to be maybe slowly going up. Let's see if it happens. Peaking from 20 to 90, maybe 50 to 90. This from 190 going up, not so clear. Let me try another 5 years. Started 1978. Display the graph. 50 to 90 high, not really. Maybe just around 60. So my theory is not looking. It's not looking great. Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit of a dip here. Let's try one more time. Another 5 years would take me to 1983, if I can add 5. I don't know. It's whatever it is, it's not really clear cut. But that's how you would do the research. So if you started seeing something, consistent, then you're really onto something, and you can check it out and see. So, and then I could do it over 20 degrees. Instead of 10 degrees. And then you get something like this to see more, patterns across a greater number of degrees. So this ability to just click interactively and change the number of degrees, change the dates, you can see how the patterns are changing, and keep changing this year. Now with 20 degrees, I could go back again to that 5 years earlier, 1978, display it again. Whoa, now this is interesting. During this 5 years, when I do the 20 degrees smoothing, we go from new moon to full moon, and silver prices are just going up. This is pretty dramatic. This is the kind of thing we would hope to find, some clear pattern. And what often happens in research, somebody does a study and they go, I found it, I looked at silver prices over these 5 years, and there it is. But now we can see if it's consistent. Let's go back 5 years to 1973. Display again. Uh-oh. So much for our theory. Now it looks like it peaks here. So this is one of the problems with doing this kind of research. You can think you see a pattern over 3, 4, 5 years. Then you run it again. You don't see it. And you also get different results depending on how many degrees you're putting here. Are you smoothing it over, many degrees? I'll show you. Suppose I go to 5 degrees and I display again. With 20 degrees, I get a peak at 200 degrees. And now it's not so obvious. So what does that tell you? It tells you that if you are looking at the broad pattern across that synodic cycle, then you want to put a lot of degrees together, like maybe even 30. And then you see an overall trend through the cycle. But if you think there might be like a smaller wave going through this, where maybe every first quarter full moon, third quarter it peaks, then you can do a smaller number, and then you can see if there's some kind of pattern that's of a smaller type. So you can look at all these things interactively, play with it, visualize it, go forward and backward, see what's going on. And even if you don't discover something, like right now, we did not discover anything at all. You might say, well, we wasted our time. Did we waste our time? Not really, because we have demonstrated. I'm only 16 minutes into this video, and I'm also teaching you how to do it. So if I was just doing it on my own, it would take, say, 5 minutes. I can see if it's true or not. Do silver prices correlate with lunar cycles? Maybe in some way it does. You can never say you're completely guilty, so to speak. But if it's there, it's really hard to see. I mean, for all intents and purposes, it appears to not be true. And you could have gotten fooled if you only looked at a small amount of the data. So these are great tools for visualizing synodic cycles and how they may relate. It'd be fun to do this for like rainfall. It might vary in different areas, and see if you can see a particular cycle correlating with rainfall in a particular place. People say more babies are born at full moon. You can actually just see it very quickly, very fast. No muss, no fuss. Just go in there, play with it, see the results. All you need to do is have the data. You have to have the data. Once you have that, you can just sit here and play with it. Okay, well, I wanted to show you that question that had come up to me this morning about someone asking about silver prices and whether they correlated with the lunar cycle. And I thought, well, rather than just answer them, I'll show you the tools to do this. I keep making more and more videos, and some of these videos will be very specific details, how to get a certain kind of primary direction, or a specific setting on your Vedic dasa periods, or who knows what. Just lots of detail. But if that's the detail you're interested in, then these different particular tutorial video may be the one that will be really helpful to you. Okay, thank you for listening. Take care. God bless. Namaste.